morning, happy Friday, and welcome back to the NOFO Live Show, where I, Sunita, along with my co-host Tracy from Miss Tracy Kessler, we hop on every Friday and talk about everything North Fork. Today our guest is Dr. Michelle Iona from Healing Points and Wellness, who does acupuncture and a whole bunch of other offerings that we're going to talk about. But first, the weather report. Summer is leaving the North Fork rapidly. Today is cold, windy. I had to dig out a sweater. So all those pumpkin spice lattes that we were talking about putting on hold really might be coming out today, or at least a warm soup or summer. But today it's definitely like I kind of had to close the window here this morning because it definitely feels very, very cool. Good morning, Tracy. How are you?
Good morning. I have to tell everyone, so when you do a live, it's delayed when you come on. So I request, and I'm sitting here for probably 20 seconds until Sunita says yes. So when you said, and it's time for the weather report, I literally went out loud.
Because it is time for the weather report.
It is.
Wait, I have to crack up because I took out the sweatshirt that you're wearing. I put it on, and then I put it back in the closet.
Yes, well, before we have the show, I have a special announcement about what I'm wearing, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, okay, because that's so funny that we would have been matching.
That would have been funny.
Okay, so what do you think about this weather while we are talking about it?
You know, I had out shorts and a t-shirt for Tilly to go to school, and now we had to change everything quickly before she headed out.
Oh my God, speaking of Tilly going to school, you posted that reel with her first day of school outfit and her backpack. It was the cutest.
You know, I'm going to do another post about it, and I'll keep this short so we can get to Michelle, but almost all of Tilly's clothes are donated or thrifted. I very, very, very rarely purchase anything at full price. I like to keep it going, and then we donate everything to Cast after we're done using it. But I must say, and I don't know who it was. I got to dig back. She was wearing a Catherine Malandrino dress to school, and I didn't even realize it until I took it off her, and I was like, oh my God.
Well, I don't know who that is. I'm assuming it's a designer. But I must say, as a first-time parent, super proud of you for not wanting to buy everything brand new and untouched, because usually that's something third-time parents do. It's like, you're wearing this.
Yeah. Well, I've been very lucky, very blessed. A lot of people have offered things to me, and it kind of changed my mindset to this stuff, she goes through it so fast, it gets dirty. She, in the beginning, she was spitting up on it, food gets on it. So why would I pay these high prices and then put something else into the world, right? So
that's so smart. And speaking of smart, we have a doctor on with us today. So we are so excited, Michelle. First of all, I love the flowers you have in the backdrop. Is that an artwork, print, something? It's beautiful.
Thank you. It's a print, and I actually got it at HomeSense. So thank you. I love it. I recently found it. I've been in this office for 5 years, and I've been looking for something for the perfect thing for behind my desk. And so finally, it took me 5 years.
Well,
so I'm glad you like it.
It was worth the wait.
Thank you. I love it. It makes me smile, and I think that's part of it, right?
Yes.
Yep. All right, let's jump into it. Tell us what it is you do.
And tell us who you are and everything. Yes.
Okay, so I am Dr. Michelle Iona. I am a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine. I'm also a functional medicine practitioner. Of course, I'm not a medical doctor, so what I do is I basically blend functional medicine and Chinese medicine and try to get to the root cause of whatever symptoms people are having.
I love that.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I've been in practice just about 23 years, and obviously the practice always evolves, and even with it comes to the statin, the allergy things, which we'll talk about soon, I'm sure. It's just there's so much great information out there that we can use to heal naturally, right? And I think my goal in life and with my patients and anyone I can touch is to really give them, empower them, instill the hope that there are things that you can do naturally, right? I think a lot of us are brought up to believe that if you're sick, you have to go to the doctor and get cold medicine or this medicine or allergy medicine. And now we know that there are other alternatives, and that's the beauty of natural medicine, right? In my opinion, anyway. So basically, that's what I do.
So
I
tell me,
start with a
what is functional medicine?
So functional medicine, like I love functional medicine and I discovered it, my journey's a little bit, we all have a journey, right? And so I came upon functional medicine, Chinese medicine practitioner first. I had my own health issues, undiagnosed with endo and terrible gut issues for 17 years. And that's how I, ended up at a nutritionist office and then an acupuncturist, of course. And that's where my real journey began in terms of my practice, right? Because I was blown away, after suffering for so long with no answers and doing quote unquote all the right things, it came to be where nothing was helping me. A good friend said, why don't you come visit me? And so I did. And naturally from there, it was like, oh, you have wheat, oat, gluten, barley, and I uncovered all these food sensitivities and intolerances. And then she sent me to the acupuncturist. And that's where that part began. So fast forward, do acupuncture for probably a good 16, 17 years. And then I wanted to know more about the nutrition part, right? Because we know how important nutrition is. We know how important our food is, right? And I think, I always say to my patients, the less you eat out of a box, the healthier you'll always be, right? Because in order for anything to stay, alive in a box, clearly there's chemicals that do that, right? And that's what we really want to, look at. So fast forward, ended up in the University of Western States to study functional nutrition. And from there, they had a program with the Institute for Functional Medicine. And basically functional medicine, I call it like the Western counterpart of Chinese medicine. So Chinese medicine, we do like a deep dive into someone's medical history, right? We look at, the diet, the lifestyle, the sleep, hormones. We cover everything, right? Because everything matters. And the beauty of Chinese medicine is that I can have 5 people with back pain. Everybody will get a different treatment, right? Because we're all different. You come to the table with different symptoms, different lifestyle, different diet. So functional medicine does that same thing, only they do more testing, right? And they also look for the root cause. Not that Western medicine doesn't, of course they do, right? But I think what Western medicine lacks, functional medicine fills in that gap. And that gap to me is, okay, you have upper respiratory, right away you get, the prednisone, the inhalers, the this, the that. And again, nothing wrong with that, right? But if they added in a few questions about, are you consuming dairy products? Is that contributing to your congestion, right? So functional medicine practitioner will look at what are the other contributing factors, triggers, mediators that are contributing to your signs and symptoms. And then of course,
it sounds like time and energy is being spent in getting to the root cause rather than alleviating the symptoms, which traditional medicine is really good at, right? And a lot of people
absolutely, yeah.
But it sounds like the difference between treating the symptom versus doing a deep dive into treating the root cause.
Right. And I think, our medical system is not set up to spend time with patients, right? Because of insurance purposes and things like that, these doctors unfortunately are seeing a ton of patients, right? In a day. You don't really have the time to spend with patients to hear about how they're sleeping and what are they sticking in their body, what other stresses or emotions might be contributing to the signs and symptoms, right? And I think that's where functional medicine fills in what Western medicine doesn't, and that's what Chinese medicine is about.
So I think about the acupuncture. So if someone comes to you, is acupuncture always a part of the solution, or is it certain symptoms and certain things that you find would cause them to have acupuncture?
I love acupuncture. Listen, it changed my life. And like I said, 23 years of doing this, and I can tell you every day I'm still amazed at what acupuncture can do. And again, we're always in and out of balance, right? So we want to look at what is causing the imbalance. Is it that you're burning your candles at both ends? You're not getting enough sleep? Are you getting too much caffeine and too sugar? I'm with you, girl. I am so with you. Are you getting too much caffeine or too much sugar? Or, you know, like, those are the things that are going to deplete us. And the way I see the human body, right, is we all have a bank account, right? And what you do throughout the day and how you live your life, are you having fun, eating well, getting good sleep? That's going to put money in your bank account. When you're running and you're not getting that break, that takes money, and your diet is poor and it all goes hand in hand, that takes money out of your bank account and ends you up in overdraft, right? Yeah. We all have an overdraft account. But as we know, overdraft is pretty limited. So when we start to really get so depleted, that's when we're going to see signs and symptoms of imbalance, right? And that's where it's going to be, you know, you'll see different signs, you know, whether it's fatigue or insomnia or anxiety or gut issues, you know, everything plays a role. So that's really.
Can you tell us a little bit more? So for people who don't know, also someone keeps asking where you're located. Where are you located? You're in Riverhead. Right?
I'm in Riverhead on Roanoke Avenue.
Okay. So for people who don't know, myself included, all I think about acupuncture is I'm going to come in and you're going to just punch a bunch of needles in me. So tell us like what it is, and how does someone who's terrified of needles get over that to do acupuncture?
That's a great question. And I love newbies, by the way, because you know what? No, honest to God, I think the beauty of a newbie is that they come with those questions and they sometimes come with fear, right? And I think a lot of times those fears come from us as a young child, you know, either getting vaccines or blood drawn or whatever, right? I mean, that's a part of it. So the needles, the most important thing about the needles is primarily they don't hurt, right? They're thin, flexible needles. They get tapped in. Sometimes the sensation, I'll say, is, you know, if you're you're on a carpet and then you touch someone, you get that you get that little bit of a, I'll say, shock. And then it's fleeting and it goes. You know, it's not meant to be painful, and it's not painful. In fact, most patients fall asleep on the table and I have to go wake them up. So,
have you ever done acupuncture?
No, me?
Tracy, yes.
No, but I really want to. And Michelle and I have actually DM'd like all through my postpartum that you were so supportive. That's something I want to say too, is that Michelle's always giving out free advice, which is I really respect and appreciate. And there's been many things and like some current issues that I'm going through right now that I think acupuncture might help, but I'm really afraid of needles. Like when I get blood drawn, I have to look the other way. When I go in for surgery, to me, the absolute worst part is the IV. Like that's the worst part.
And I agree with you. So the important thing and the difference between those needles and my needles are, one, they're thin. And when I say thin, they're like a couple of strands of hair thick, right? And they're flexible. It's not a firm needle like when you're getting your blood drawn or you're getting an IV, and they're significantly thinner, right? And I think that's it. Again, most people, once I put the first needle in, and sometimes people like, did you start yet? And I'm like, yes, you have 4 in already. You know, so it's not uncommon for me to hear that. And again, you know, sometimes, as I'll say, occasionally you'll get that awareness, right? You'll be, oh, I felt that one. Okay. As long as you're relaxed, it goes away in like a few seconds. Like before you even get done telling me that you felt it, it subsided for the most part, you know. And
you had?
Yes, but I wanted to say, Tracy, if you haven't done it, is what I did not expect. I wasn't afraid of the needles. I just have anxiety in general. And somebody said to me that acupuncture might help the anxiety. And I was anxious about going to acupuncture. So I'm like, how is it going to first help that anxiety? But to cut to the chase, it did work and it does help. And I do go. But what I wanted to say was, unlike when you get an IV or blood drawn, they put the needle in, you're there, you're holding the breath, they pull the needle out, you exhale, you're done, right? In acupuncture, what surprised me is it's almost, I don't want to say it's like going to a spa, but it's kind of like going to a spa, because they will put the needles in you, and then I didn't realize that I would just have to lay there alone with my thoughts for 10 or 15 minutes processing, and I don't know what it is, a combination of being there in that Zen state, because you can't move, you've got needles in you. They're not really needles. You need to forget the word needles, because even though they are sharp, like needles. You don't feel like you have needles in you. You just feel this calmness, and then being forced, Tracy, especially for someone like you that's running around all the time. I didn't know I could lay there 15 minutes. I wanted to jump up and I kept waiting. When are they going to come back and take this out? And then, wait, they come, take out the needles, put another set, and now I got to lay there another 15 minutes. And I was like, what is this witchcraft? It's amazing. It does help. And I really do want to talk about all the different things that acupuncture can help with. Because from somebody on the outside, it doesn't come naturally to me that it can help this and that, like the Lyme and the alpha-gal syndrome. I can't even wrap my brain around how acupuncture can help with that.
Yes, it's pretty amazing. And so the treatment that I use for the alpha gal is called SAT. It's Solomon auricular allergy treatment, and it was divided. It was, it's a patented procedure, and I started to get so many calls probably almost 2 years ago now, and everyone kept saying, "Do you do this? Do you do this?" And I'm like, "Nope, never even heard of it." So I went to look into it. The one thing about me is I'm an avid learner, and I never stop. So I have this curious 2-year-old mind that has to know more always. So I went and I studied with, his name is Dr. Solomon, and it was a 3-day weekend. And then I went on to do additional training, auricular medicine with him and bioenergetic testing and all of this good stuff. So he devised this patented, it's auricular acupuncture, and auricular acupuncture has been around for many, many years, of course, and is a big part of acupuncture. So he figured out, I don't know if you know this, but the ear is like an inverted fetus. So there's different parts of your ear. If you look, like the baby's head is down by the earlobe, and then it goes up, the spine, the organs, all of that. So you can access points on the ear to have effects on the body. And so he noticed that there's a neurological component to allergies and how it sends signals back to the brain. And he devised this unbelievable treatment. And, I was about as skeptic as anybody else, despite what I do. And I joined like this Alpha Gal group on Facebook, because for me, I don't want to offer a treatment unless I feel confident that it's going to work, right? I mean, acupuncture, I'm 150% confident that it works. So I went, I learned, I trained, and I've been treating people with it. So basically, alpha gal, as you know, Sunita, is an analogy to meat and mammal-like products. Some have dairy issues, some don't.
I just want to add that is triggered or caused by a tick bite, the Lone Star tick. Like I was bit by it 2 years ago, and I'd never even heard of it. And it was really scary because you get what they call Rocky Mountain spotted fever, which can be fatal. And just hearing that was like, but anyway, I took the doxycycline that like they do for Lyme. And now, depending on, different people react differently, but then you can develop it later, not immediately, but in 6 months or a year, you can develop an allergy to mammal meat, which I have. But it's also progressed to an allergy to the dairy that comes from the mammal. So it's a pretty wide range of foods that you can't eat, butter, yogurt. And the more I talk about it, the more I hear about people, especially here where we have so many tick bites. And I think it's only in the last 10 years really that it's something that's developed, if you will.
Yes, it's definitely more prominent, and it's growing, unfortunately. And yes, Rocky Mountain spotted fever is one of those ones that you don't want to mess around with, right? That's where you definitely get to the doctor and you do what you need to do, because that can be fatal. In fact, I have a patient that was just diagnosed with that a couple of weeks ago. So, and yes, everybody does react differently. Usually the allergy after any kind of exposure happens 5-6 hours after the ingestion of, say, meat, or, and again, it's meat, it's pork, it's lamb, it's some dairy products for some people.
Makes it very hard to diagnose or realize, because it's unlike peanuts where you have a peanut allergy and you eat it and you have an immediate reaction, then you can connect the dots. But with this allergy, you really can't tell what triggered the symptoms.
Yeah. Especially if you've got the butter and milk and like the products that come from mammals.
And it takes 6, sometimes 12 hours, and I know, did we lose Michelle? She seems frozen. but I know more and more people locally seem to be getting it. So it's really heartwarming to know that there's something that can be done about it.
Okay, can you hear me still or no?
We can now. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
That's
I
okay.
thought I turned off notifications and do not disturb, but apparently I didn't do it correctly. Sorry about that. So, so basically, everybody reacts differently, right? It can be, you know, the skin issues, the warm palms, the rashes, the hives, of course, the digestive complaints. I mean, some people can be anaphylactic and have an anaphylactic reaction that ends them up in the ER, of course. And then there's other people that it's mild, right? And, you know, I think one of the confusing things is that everyone thinks that if their number is low, it means that their reaction is less. And that's not the truth, right? And I think the other part is that a lot of doctors don't know about it, right? I think they're becoming more aware of it because patients are coming in saying, can you test me for it? And they're like, I don't even know what that is. And I don't think you have it. I think you're good, you know? And I think
I didn't know about it, but my doctor is super smart and she automatically tested me for it, which I was surprised at because, I mean, everybody here knows more about Lyme, I think, and the complications. Yes. And now at least automatically, if you come with any random symptoms that might fill in the Lyme bucket, the doctors will test for that. But the alpha-gal allergy is relatively newer, but I want to say fast spreading because I personally know many people locally, right, Tracy, as well as you that have it. So it's a little scary for me to hear about, you know, how much it's spreading, if you will.
It is, and I think obviously the prevention's the best, right? But, you know, sometimes I think too, it's not just a Lone Star tick, it can be the nymphs from them as well, right? So, and those are so tiny, you know, ticks in general these days, sometimes it's hard to tell, is that a mole or is that a tick, right? I pull ticks off of people, you know, more than I would like to admit, you know, just because I see their backs and they don't see them. The other thing about the alpha-gal too is, and I think is important, is that people have an EpiPen, right? I think that's important to have because you don't know, you know, I have some patients, just the smell of a barbecue they can react to, or walking into a butcher or down the meat aisle or something like that. So some people are super reactive, and then there are other patients that are mild, right? So what's going back to Solomon, what he devised was this, like I said, patented auricular procedure. And we use like bioenergetic testing to find the correct auricular acupuncture point. And then we basically insert like a 3 millimeter needle into the most reactive point that corresponds to a filter that we use. And so the filters, again, have the energy of anything. It could be seasonal allergies, it could be dairy, gluten, of course, you know, alpha-gal, Lyme, all of it. Now, the goal of the treatment is really to help with the remission of it. It's not a cure, right? And for people that have anaphylactic or have had anaphylactic reactions, I'm not telling anyone to reintroduce it and try it after this. Let's be honest, right? Because once someone has anaphylactic, the goal with them is, again, to lessen, if they have a cross-contamination, to lessen the severity of their reaction. So that's the beauty of the treatment. And then there are people that do the treatment and they're back to eating meat, you know, and the allergy can clear, you know, and that's kind of fascinating to me, you know.
I'm good with the remission, like you put it, you know, I'm okay with avoiding the allergen, but I feel like sometimes I still get the symptoms and I don't know if they're in my head and my body's generating them, or have I actually consumed something that's causing the reaction, you know?
Well, there's two things, right? You know, I think, you know, if you're taking any supplements, look at the supplements, you know, because it's not just meat. You know, it's gelatin, it could be amino acids. There's a whole host of things. Even when we talk about dairy, you know, it's not just the dairy, it's the lactose, it's the casein. There's many components to dairy. And if any of those are in something, that can trigger a reaction also. But, any supplement should always be vegan. And, if it doesn't say vegan, then it's not.
Right.
Well, thank you
So
for letting me monopolize your time for the Alpha Gal, but we do want to hear about what other treatments, what you offer acupuncture, obviously. What else do you offer if someone walks into your clinic? What else do you offer?
So I am an herbalist, specializing in Chinese herbs, of course. So that sometimes comes hand in hand with the acupuncture, or sometimes people just want to do herbs, and that's fine too. Of course, I always encourage them to do both, because that's where you're going to get the most, the quickest results, right? When you combine both. Chinese medicine is medicine, right? And is a complete medicine by itself. Thousands of years and unbelievable success stories, even in my short 23 years, going back even further. It's remarkable what can happen. So usually those two, because of my functional medicine training, nutrition, right? Nutrition, right? It's, we all want what we want, and we want to eat what we want, and we have all the right justifications that it doesn't bother us. But the thing that you mentioned earlier is that it's hard to tell what's causing it. And so food sensitivities and intolerances don't always manifest right away. It could be a latent allergy, right? Or a sensitivity. It's intolerance, sensitivity, and then allergy. And there's a whole spectrum when it comes to foods. You don't have to be allergic to it where you're breaking out in hives and stuff, but you can have a sensitivity where you have, gas or bloating and digestion problems, or anxiety, insomnia. It's not just related to gut either. So I think that's one of the things. I do a lot of elimination diets just to help people uncover what foods are really triggering their symptoms. Of course, I do the usual cupping, and I do electroacupuncture, cosmetic, of course. What else? Oh, I have a great new treatment that I'm loving, and I'm having such really great results with. And it's called frequency-specific microcurrent. And it's something that I recently learned several months ago, and I trained with the woman who wrote the textbook, Carol McMagan. And it's frequencies, right? So when you go to open your car door and you press your remote to open it, it only opens up your car door, right? It doesn't open up mine. We are all made up of frequencies. And so there's different frequencies that we can run in different pairs to help with anxiety or pain or gut issues, and that's been really kind of fascinating. I've been doing primarily just all neck people, just to really see how it works and to get it up and going. And mind blowing cool. I mean, within the first treatment, they have better range of motion. Their traps are less tight, so that's been kind of fun to learn. So
I don't know
that's
about everyone else, but I'm like flipping through my calendar to find out when I can go visit Michelle.
So
and I've got a list of things we need to address, because there's not just one.
No.
Interesting part that I discovered with acupuncture is you don't really need to come with a reason or a symptom. I feel like it treats whatever your body needs. It's really, at least that's been my experience. I thought you had to go there with a list of things, but it helps with whatever it helps with.
I'm interested to hear what did you say? Of course, the cosmetic acupuncture. What is that?
So cosmetic acupuncture is, you get a root treatment, as we say, and then we work on any, fine lines, wrinkles, all of that stuff. So that includes obviously acupuncture. I use an LED light, which is fabulous and people love. I do microcurrent to the face to help, with collagen production and, all of that good stuff.
And Tracy, you have to lay there resting for X minutes anyway. So that in of itself is going to be, the help you need in your day.
Exactly.
It's a nice treatment. It really is a beautiful treatment. And, at the end, I finish up with either cupping or gua sha. And that's really cool. It's really nice. It gives you that little glow. It is something, it's not a one and done treatment. when you do cosmetic, depending on who's coming in and how many, what their face looks like, wrinkles and all of that. It's usually a commitment of several treatments, several times a week for a number of weeks, So it is a commitment. It's not a one and done, but you know what? It beats Botox, in my
Somebody
opinion.
asked a very good question. Does health insurance cover any of the treatments you offer?
I am 100% out of network. Some people have out of network benefits. And so if they have out of network benefits, I would recommend that they call their insurance company to see. And I think the important thing to remember too is that just because insurance covers acupuncture, it doesn't mean they're going to reimburse you for what you're coming in. A lot of times they have restricted diagnosis codes that they will pay for.
Right. Well, Michelle, this has been so informative. We're actually over time, but we're going to do a rapid fire NOFO Live 5, like we end every show. So I'll kick it off. If you were going to take us to lunch or dinner, where would you take us out?
Oh man. And I looked at these questions when you sent them previously and I was like, oh man, this is tough. There's so many good ones. And dinner, I'm an Il Giardino girl. That's,
Yeah.
I've been going there for a million years. I love them. I love Bruce and Son. I love Noah's, of course. Yeah, there's so many. I love Barrow House because it's so close to my office and I can get there.
Yeah.
That's always a criteria. Okay.
Yeah.
Wake up early for the sunrise, or do you stay up late for well, not late. Now we're getting to 4:30 sunset soon. Or do you catch a sunset?
Definitely not a sunrise girl anymore. I used to be an early morning riser, but now I work so late that no, it's not happening. So definitely more sunset. Unfortunately, now that I'm working, I get to see it from my office window. I don't get to the beach as much as I would like, but yeah.
Brewery or vineyard?
Definitely vineyard. Raphael. I mean, again, there's so many great vineyards on the North Fork. So
Raphael has the most magnificent hydrangeas in their backyard. Like, I don't know, they're bigger than a person's face. I feel like I should get some clipping and propagate them. They're really beautiful.
they're good. And I love their Sauvignon Blanc. So that's one of my favorites.
So you mentioned how much nutrition plays a part in our overall health. So when you are cooking at home, what farm stands do you generally shop at?
Well, Sangley, we have the CSA from them. So my schedule, again, gets a little crazier in the summer. So I signed up for the CSA and I love it. But any
That's great.
farm stand, I mean, listen, can you go wrong with a farm stand?
No.
Especially the ones that only sell what they grow. I mean,
Yes.
Exactly.
They just picked it. You can't go wrong.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
So Michelle, thank you so much for being on. We usually last with the last question. What do you other two ladies do? Are you protectricians? No. So we obviously have a new listener. Thank you, Precious Puppy Dumpling, for joining today. No, Sunita and I are, this is our show. It's called NOFO Live. We have the show every Friday morning at 9 a.m. And we interview someone different from the North Fork, which is what NOFO stands for. And that is the area that we live. It is a gem and part of New York that most people don't know about. And we like to keep it that way, except we share about it every Friday. Okay, so Michelle, wrap up for us why you love being a part of the North Fork community.
Just the community. I love how everyone works together, right? And, I think not only, I love all of these networking groups that we have and how we can all connect together to help each other. I think that's really what it's about, right? It's, life is tough. So I think being in a community of supportive people, not just women, but I think that's what I love, right? And not to mention the beautiful open farmland. I'm a farm girl at heart. give me a winery, give me a beautiful open field. That just brings a smile to my face.
And a couple of needles. You're good to go.
I'm good to go. Yeah. Needles will travel.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this valuable information. You have truly inspired me to come try out the what is it called? SAAT treatment.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I am avoiding everything that I can, but I still feel some symptoms. But I would definitely love to come try that out. So I will see you soon.
All right, my dear.
Thank you for being on. And Tracy, did you want to talk?
Yes. Before we hang up, so I am wearing we have North Fork gear. Don't know if you guys know that NOFO Live gear. So
No,
we have
I love
a hat, we have a sweatshirt, and we have t-shirts. And we are very, very close to having a 1,000 followers. So we are going to be doing a giveaway of our merch to help us get to the 1,000 followers. So check out for that post coming this weekend. We'll share the details and enter to win.
That sounds great.
Have a great Friday, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in.